Welcome back. You're now watching the political segment on the weekend show. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has officially spent about 15 months in office as the president of Nigeria. Some of his policy decisions started from the day he was sworn in, like floating the naira as well as removing fuel subsidies. However, Nigerians have had reported and repeated news articles about the fact that there is some form of subsidy. We've also seen a constant increase in fuel prices, while fuel queues still remain. However, the presidency has admitted that they have confidence in their reforms. One of the highlights is the fact that Nigeria's trade surplus hit 6.95 trillion. Also, the fact that the federal government dollar bond has attracted $900 million subscription. So the presidency is of the opinion that we should give some more time, and they have confidence that their policies are working. However, how is the average Nigerian coping? How has the food price inflation and increase affected Nigerians? The cost of fuel price, how has that affected transportation, which now has a domino effect on every other thing? We'll be having a look at the state of the nation, focusing on the economic impact of the policy direction of the president. And joining us, we have
Professor Agbojeri Madaki, who is a chief consultant at Commodore Consult Limited. We also have joining us Suleiman Ibrahim, who is the Sarkin Tilijomichka of Adamawa State, and Ambassador Dr. Victor Ayodichi Oritedi, who is a business development specialist. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning. I think we should start with you, Ambassador. From a business and economic perspective, what's your analysis of the performance of this administration so far, especially in line with its policy direction?
Well, thank you very much. First and foremost, I'd like to establish that before we start crucifying or insulting the policies or challenging them, the biggest decision that has affected everybody today is the subsidy removal. I would like to establish that the subsidy removal was not done by Asiwaju's government. It was done by the Buhari's government and handed over to him because there was no provision for subsidy in the budget that was handed over to this government. So I would say that this government is only implementing what was handed over to her. Secondly, if we look back towards back to the campaign period, we'll see that all the candidates agreed that subsidy was a purported scam, which was long overdue to be removed, and its removal was imminent. And it's just like saying that is there a perfect time to die? There's really no perfect time to die. So subsidy has to go, and its effect has to be felt. And to support what this government is doing, I think they are on track with the policies that are supposed to cushion the negative effects of the subsidy removal. Now, the excess gotten from the removal has been pushed down to the common man via the closest government to the common man, which is the state's government and the local government. But are these cushions, are these effects or these policies that are supposed to reduce the negative effects on the common man, are they being implemented? That is another question that we need to deliberate about, because a lot of funds have been pushed to the states to reduce the negative effect of the subsidy removal on the common man. That is on one side. Secondly, in terms of economic policies that would foster development of the country and progress, you mentioned the bonds and other things. The government has also supported businesses from micro level to medium-scale enterprises. And these are the classes of the economy that needs support the most, the micro level. The microeconomic status of Nigerian businesses for a long time have suffered. And through SMIDAN and other projects, you see that the government is encouraging these small businesses to come up and improve. Though there are challenges around interest rates and all that, but with time, they would, all these things will fizzle out. We are beginning to see results, especially in the area of export. For the first time in the history of this country, we are having more export than import. You see, it has never happened, and is a trend that shows that we are progressing. Development or economic repairs does not happen overnight. The economy that was inherited was, was a disaster, so to say. And, fixing it will not happen overnight. It will take time. And we are beginning to see these results. What I understand that this government is doing as a business development specialist is to develop and improve the economy in a sustainable manner, unlike what we've been having before now, where people just come and do some kind of whitewashing in some funny economic policies that will work, and after some time, you see that they are no longer relevant. So the government is building an economy that is sustainable, that will be on autopilot, and which is more like what we have in Lagos today. So these things take time, and they don't just happen overnight. So that's my take for now.
Okay, Prof, let's bring you into the conversation. The government, they're insisting that the economy is improving, yet Nigerians are still experiencing hardship. So from your perspective, where is this disconnect happening?
Yeah, thank you very much. On paper, the last quarter, the exports/import ratio, exports is about 2.3 times better than the import. And in terms of translating it to Naira, export was about 7.8 trillion Naira vis-a-vis import of just 2.5 trillion Naira. And making a differential of about 5 trillion in favor of exports. So on paper, it would appear that the economy is not doing badly. But like you rightly asked, how does this translate to realities? At the same time, the inflation rate in Nigeria, as of July, is about 34%, as compared to 20.4% in Ghana. So the reality on the ground is that there's excruciating poverty, and the man on the street cannot appreciate that the economy is improving in any way because it's not translating to the welfare and goodness of the people. And the primary purpose of government, as encapsulated in Chapter 2 of the Nigerian Constitution, dealing with the fundamental objective and directive principle of state policy, is the welfare and security of the people. That is should be the paramount concern of any responsible government everywhere in the world. So whereas the economy appears on paper, I say on paper, to be doing very well, to the corollary, the level of excruciating poverty demands that government must rejig and fine-tune its policy to make sure that there's better life for the citizenry. And I think that is what is more important. Thank you.
Okay, that's a very good introduction. And for those who don't know, this gentleman beside me who looks very much like me is actually my father. Good to have you on my show. I'm your boss for today.
It was meant to be a surprise.
The second to Joseph and Ibrahim, thank you so much for joining us. You are from the northeastern part of Nigeria, where there was a whole lot of insecurity. At some point, you had to leave your state with some other traditional leaders and move to places around Abuja and the likes. So you are the point of contact when it comes to the people. From a commercial angle, we have read that about 8 million businesses, small businesses, will shut down. And like the last speakers have said, on paper, it looks very good. It looks great. But with your connection to the masses and the people, what are the people actually saying and going through? Like Prof has just said, there's a very high level of poverty in the land, that the middle class is pretty much now disappearing. But let's hear your thoughts.
Thank you, Dr. I'm glad to be in the mix of Prof, Daddy here, and Ambassador. I'm very pleased with that. Let me pick up from the saying of the Prof. I'm not criticizing his saying, but that he say it's not a Tinubu business with subsidy.
Yes, Ambassador who says so. No
Okay, Ambassador, rather. Yeah, Ambassador says it's not a Tinubu program. Actually, yes, he's right. But as far as I'm concerned, or as far as we are concerned, APC, they are all from the same party. They have the same policy, legacy. So whatsoever Buhari or Tinubu did as for policy should be credited to them all. To be candid with you, we at grass level, we have never experienced something like this. To me, subsidy, by then we heard from major scholars, including some of the respected traditional leaders like Sanusi, who clamor for removal of subsidy. But to be candid, now it is being proven that subsidy is a child of necessity to be back, because now, if I tell you how many people are dying because of hunger, it's more than malaria and even the number of flood that you are seeing in our palaces. I swear to Almighty God, you cannot stay. Now, before we give out a title, we wait and reason, study somebody's action. But now, if someone say, in fact, we look out for people to give them title. Please, all of you here, I will also give you title, because the title holders are some that are assisting us in the palace. People will gather in the palace, not even for anything, at least to have the square meal, even if to secure their lunch. Some will not go. They have to make sure they secure their dinner. You cannot stay. The 75% of complaint or story you hear in the palace is food. Talking about inflation, I'm bordering this thing with Cameroon. Our naira is in a sorry situation compared to French money, Cameroonian French CFA. What are we talking about? If this government will do this for humanity, they have to sit down properly. All this minimum wage, all this this MEDA you are talking about, they came to my community. In fact, I consider it as a scam. Seriously, because they came. I personally, because I want some people to get involved, I give money to register some of the community members, some of the youth, some of the businesses. After collecting this thing, they did the business plan and whatsoever. Since Buhari time, no one see them again. I, as a chief, I try to reach out to them in order to understand what really happened, because they receive a lot of money from people. People at that community paying 14,000 for some forms and logistic, and over 50 people, nobody will benefit, one person that will benefit. I consider it as a scam. So most of government policy, you see, APC, to be candid, you will be justice to them that talking about initiatives for a humanitarian initiative that people are supposed to benefit, they have it, but they never reason on which channel
should it go to the right people? Talking about agri-intervention, they only target people that have CFO of land. How many Nigerians today that have their farmland CFO? That one is just also another big scam. They are giving them to maybe bourgeois, people that have money to put it in fixed deposit account and give it to the government without targeting the main aims and objective. So talking about the hardship, Nigerians are crying, Nigeria are dying. We are in state of emergency. You cannot change clothes. You cannot do, in fact, your target now, look, we are in sorry situation. The government, ambassador, it seems like you are very close to the government. Please extend this flag. This is a serious situation. APC are very lucky people. They did not struggle hard to earn power. So people love them. They should show love to the people. People are in serious situation. Sir, even we at our level, that we have some title holders that we can call on, please. We might not use ourselves to call them. We'll use the palace, this thing. Please call so. At times, you will see some chiefs will call traditional title holders that chief is not feeling too good, just to get something to support this thing, because every traditional leader, his subject is his. In fact, is his number one priority, even than his family.
Thank you so much, Eric. Let's bring other speakers in.
Yeah, Ambassador, when you were speaking, you mentioned the different policies that the government are put in place to help Nigerians. Do you think these policies, these different policies, are having the intended effect on the average Nigerian?
Well, I don't think we are feeling the effect yet, but we'll eventually feel the effects. The problem with Nigeria is a multi-dimensional one. His Royal Highness mentioned that this government has beautiful, fantastic policies, but the challenges with implementation is an enormous one. And that is where it concerns you and I and everybody, you know, that is involved in the channel of implementation. The president is just one man. His cabinets are just a few people. He needs other people to implement, to do what they are supposed to do so that results would be seen. But are these people doing the right thing? No. That is another problem with Nigeria itself. So beyond just bringing or initiating policies, implementation also matters and is a very serious problem where I feel even the complainers, I am also part of. I'm feeling the heat also. But I also have my own problem. A market woman, just because she heard that dollar has gone up, all of a sudden she decides on her own to increase the price of tomatoes. When you ask why, you say dollar has gone up. What's the correlation? You cannot really connect. A groundnut seller on the road. So even we, as at the grassroots, we have our own problem.
Ambassador, I'll let you finish, but let me make the correlation for you. When the average person talks about dollar to naira and puts it as a benchmark for pricing, the reason is because we still have to do transportation and buy fuel. The oil marketers will tell you they need to source for dollars locally. And so that market woman, her transport from her house to the market has gone higher. Her transport to go and get those logistics. So there is a correlation. I'll let you continue, but I just wanted to point out that it's all tied together regardless.
I agree with you, but not all aspects of it are tied together. There are other activities that they have no business with dollar. Yeah, everybody has to transport. Everybody has to do one thing or two things that involves dollar, but not everything. And I tell, okay, now dollar goes up, you see increase. Dollar comes down. Did you see the impact? No. So we also have our own issue. In Nigeria, when things goes up, it never comes down, just like age. You get, nothing comes down in Nigeria. So now, treating the economic issue, the crisis we have, I will compare it to treating cancer. When you want to treat a cancer patient, there are ways you can just treat the surface. The patient will feel relieved for some time, and you move on. After some time, you come back to that same issue. What I think this government is doing is tackling these issues one after the other from the root causes. And it's, whoever has treated cancer before will know that, you know, digging through the root cause will cause a lot of pains. And that is the pain we are feeling now. I am also included. But I understand the angle at which the government is coming from. And building a sustainable economy takes time. Let's be patient. Let's give this government this opportunity to, you know, to see what they are doing. And if after the first tenure we don't see the light, the president has said it, that if somebody is not doing what you want, you have the opportunity to vote him out when the time comes and let another person come and try.
Okay, thank you very much, Ambassador. A couple of points. Earlier in your introductory statement, you mentioned like Lagos State. Yeah. A recent report out of Lagos State covering Nigeria stated that less than 5% of Nigerians make up to $200,000 naira monthly, which is less than $200. And this is less than 5% of Nigeria in a country with over 200 million people. Yeah. You also have the fact where you mentioned, yes, the president, the buck stops at his table, but he has one of the largest cabinets with over 44 ministers at the moment, besides the minister who was suspended and the labor minister who left and went back to the Senate. He needs to have a level of accountability and responsibility to replace those who aren't working. However, it brings us to a crucial point, and this is to you, Prof. On this show, we always talk about how there's a lot of focus on the center, the federal government, which may be in line with what Ambassador is saying. The state governors have a responsibility to the people. But when Nigerians think about Nigeria and the economic issues, we look at the president. Constitutionally, how much responsibility should the state governments take for the failing economy and the poverty in the land, besides us focusing on the federal?
Yeah, thank you very much. In Nigeria, we practice federalism. And that's what we've been practicing since the First Republic, so to say. And there's nowhere in the world I can say this is an idea or through federalism, as some people want to say. So we have tiers of government in the country, the federal government, the state government, and the local government, even though it is debatable whether the local government system is the third tier of government. But the truth of the matter, as a result of our historical antecedent, especially the prolonged years of military rule, so there's this unnecessary over-aggregating of power to the center, which has been maintained in subsequent constitutional reform in Nigeria, especially the 1979 and then the 1999 Constitution. So whereas the type of executive power the president wields, also under Section 5 of the Nigerian Constitution, the governors of the state exercise all the executive powers embodied or allocated to the state. But again, when you look at the distribution of power in Nigeria, we have what we call the exclusive legislative list, and they have the concurrent legislative list, and then the residual list, even though that is not official. So if you look at the exclusive legislative list, there are over 66 items that is exclusive to the federal government. We must know that. And then the functions that are concurrent between the federal and the state government, they are very few. So in essence, the point that I'm making is that more power have been allocated to the central. And because of that, in terms of revenue allocation, under Section 162 of the Constitution and thereafter, most of the resources accruing to the federation account goes to the federal government. So to whom much is given, then much is expected. Then much is expected. That is number one. Then number two, because we have gotten too used to the federal government bearing the entire responsibility, people tend to ignore their state government. Their statutory allocation going to the state government. State government also have avenue of generating revenue internally and other sources of income. So people don't pay much attention to their state government. And at the local government, it is completely zero because over the years, the local government system have become emasculated by the governor that sits as their cash cow. Even the ongoing reform by the Tinubu regime in that regard is highly commendable, especially the initiative of the Honorable Attorney General, to challenge the governors before the Supreme Court, and then the recent pronouncement of the Supreme Court, which has now become the yardstick or base document for constitutional reform by the National Assembly to make sure that the local government system works. So the point that I am making, at every tier of government in this country, people must learn to hold government accountable, whether we like it or not. Now, because of the nature and type of federalism we practice, people tend to emphasize more on the central government. And that's why you see this natural attraction to Abuja. Everybody thinks until they come to Abuja, just like at the state level, people think it's only when they are the state capital that they can feel the impact or benefit from government. But I think with the ongoing constitutional reform, with greater devolution of power to the other lower tiers of government, especially the state and local government, and then with greater physical responsibility. Otherwise, the type of recklessness and rascality that we see being displayed at the state level, even if you give them greater allocation and more power, there may not be greater impact on the lives of the people. So, like the distinguished senator said, the essence of having periodic election is to submit those that we have elected to examination, so that if they've not done well, then we remove them. The time has come for Nigerians to look beyond the immediate palliative that is shared during the election and elect those that will have their interests at heart. Elect those that can make the difference as the case may be. And then if I may also say very quickly to what the distinguished ambassador said, and like you rightly pointed out, the box stopped at the table of Mr. President. He wields very enormous power, and that is why he described as the executive president of Nigeria. The Constitution is very clear, say the executive powers of the federation lies in the person of the president. He appoints and he can fire. All other persons are having delegated responsibilities. So he can hire, he can fire. The armed forces, all executive bodies are directly under Mr. President. And why so much is expected from President Tinubu? One, he's governor of Lagos State, and then the succession model that he has set up for Lagos. And Lagos seems to be working, especially in terms of revenue mobilization, allocation, and utilization. And the president is a chartered and well-trained accountant with a lot of industry experience. So we actually expect much from him. But part of the challenge is the bogus cost of governance in this country. Why the people are suffering and complaining, and you are telling them, buckle your belt and tighten up, and things will get better. And those on the corridors of power living such lifestyle that belies their income, the people are bound to complain. I think we need to cut down the cost of governance in this country. We need to prioritize what we need to spend on. Buying more presidential jets should not be the business of the government of Nigeria. Whether it is huge, but the bogus and unnecessary high cost of governance is also a challenge in this country. If you want the people to have faith, that article of faith, that contractual relationship between the people and the government, then government need to display that level of honesty and integrity in terms of their lifestyle. If you look at the former president of Tanzania, who unfortunately died, as soon as he came into power, he sold all the presidential aircraft. And he was using any public airline. You may talk about the security implication, but nobody's going to get inside the aircraft and kill him, the president. And at the point of landing, there will be enough security apparatus to safeguard the lives, of the chief executive, as the case may be. So as a final take, I do think that we must reduce the cost of governance in this country and appropriate that money into sectors that will benefit the larger society.
I think that's a great place to leave it. Professor Aboje Madaki, Hi Chief, Your Highness Suleiman Ibrahim, and Ambassador Victor Ayodeji. Because of time, this is the much we can take on this segment. We'll definitely bring you back as the situation evolves and develops. Thank you so much for your contribution and being on the show. We'll take a quick break. When we return, a little bit of entertainment to wrap up the weekend show for today. Don't go away.